please help me welcome Kerwin Ray.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Just so I can get a little bit of a feel for the room, who's actually seen me speak before? Okay, crickets. Who's never seen me speak before? Excellent. Have you guys been warned? No. Crickets, you know when there's silence, that awkward silence? Yes. Who's seen me speak? No one puts a hand up. It's like, yeah, exactly. You got it. You nailed it. Have you guys been warned? No. Okay. Well, yeah. The reason I ask if you've been warned, I am. How would I explain this and describe this in a way that it will be as palatable as possible? I'm a very passionate individual, and when I get passionate, when I become inspired, I express myself freely. And so it's really important for me to try not to put too many constraints on how I express myself in order to deliver the most value, which means from time to time the occasional profanity might just pop out of my mouth. Pardon? No, I'm not going to spit on you. I'm not going to spit on you, but it's very possible that I may swear at you. All right. All right, I just want to say, what's your name? Chris, thank you very much. Chris has set the tone. Apparently it is okay to use swear words. And again, I don't mean to be offensive, but apparently that's just a natural byproduct. Does anyone here actually get offended by swearing? No. A little bit? Just you? Right. Yeah. He's got it written all over his face. Well, look, out of respect for Judith, I'm going to try and keep my potty mouth as contained as possible. But if the occasional word pops out, please understand it's just a part of my natural personality. And I am learning the consequences of this. I now have a 2.5-year-old son. So I am now, who walks around going, oh shit, and it's, no, ship, he's saying right now. And he's only just starting to master his T's, and I'm dreading when he actually gets the T's and he's able to nail it. But first of all, I want to thank Judith for having me here. I have flown up from Sydney today. I've brought my team with me. I've got Maureen Newman. For those who don't know Maureen Newman, she's been in the training industry for a very long time. I've also got my filmmaker, Matthias. We're actually filming right now. Most of you probably wouldn't even know this because you don't know who I am. We're actually filming something right now. It's called The Social Experiment, which is a web reality TV series that we're actually broadcasting on Facebook. We only launched it 2 weeks ago. So for those of you anyone here on Facebook? Okay, so really strongly encourage you to check out my Facebook page, facebook.com/Kerwin Ray, and check out the web reality TV series because you guys will be appearing on it more than likely in the next couple of weeks. And basically, to give you some context about what the web reality TV series is, it's called The Social Experiment. And The Social Experiment is really a look at what happens to a business who's really sucked at social media forever and a day, and what happens to a business when they actually start using social media properly. Now, it's really important to point out we're already a very successful enterprise, very successful company, have been for about 16 years now, but we have really done social media really very poorly. And we're now changing that, and we're filming and documenting everything that we've done. And we've been filming everything since February this year, and we've been starting to release that into the public domain. We've only released our first 3 episodes. Episode 4 is coming out on Monday, so I strongly suggest that you check that out. But moving on to today, I've got about 90 minutes to completely change your paradigm on how you build your businesses and how you do so very quickly. A lot of people ask me what I do, and as you would have heard from Judith's introduction, it's very large, mixed and varied. There's a lot of buzzwords in there. But if we can really synthesize what my specialty is to be able to serve you guys at the highest level today, my specialty is fast growth. I have for the last 18 years been buying, building and selling businesses and trying to work out how to grow them very quickly. I worked out in the first 3 to 4 years of building businesses that I was very good at it, and not because I have any academic qualification. As you'll find out, I have no academic qualification whatsoever, but I do have a very keen interest in human psychology. And by understanding human psychology and how people respond and react to certain things, it's enabled me to hack marketing, it's enabled me to hack sales, it's enabled me to hack understanding how relationships are formed very quickly. Not just with your market and potential clients to convert those people, but also with team members in order to engage them and roll them so that they can perform at a very high level so that you can scale businesses quickly. Does this make sense? Am I talking too quickly? No? Fucking love this. Awesome. If I am talking too quickly, I do have a hack for you. Listen faster. Okay. All right. Thank you, Judith. I appreciate one person laughing. It's so much funnier in Japan, honestly, it really is. It really is. If you guys don't know this, I am actually really huge in Japan. I am, if you don't know, because most people are like this big. Yeah, I know. Okay, so I swear and I'm racist. There we go. A good start. Good start. All right. Representing. So what I want to do with you today, when Judith and I spoke, Judith basically said, listen, what is the most potent piece of information that you can share with my people in a 90-minute to 2-hour period of time that will enable them to scale very quickly, but in the theme of collaboration. And I said, well, you couldn't ask, honestly, that was the perfect question for her to ask me. One of the highest values that I have is teamwork, so I'm very big on collaboration. But one of the things that I have done really well in the last 16 to 18 years of business is identifying people in my market and identifying people outside of my market that have access to my market and collaborate with them in a way where they will actually introduce me to people who are most likely to buy my products and services. I've taken numerous businesses from zero, startup, to multiples of millions of dollars, in many cases in less than 12 months through collaborative strategy. So what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is a collaborative formula that I've used for the last 16 years to grow businesses ridiculously quickly. It just so happens that the most potent piece of information I have is based on collaboration. So what I want to do today is really deep dive into collaborative, let's call it collaborative technology, but that's just really a fancy word of, let's deep dive in today into the power of strategic relationships, and if we are able to identify them really well, the power that they have to grow our businesses very quickly. But the one thing that I really need to point out here today, this conversation is going to be about a few things. Now, do we have whiteboard markers and not whiteboard markers? Because normally I'm one of these people that they actually have to put rubber bands around the markers that I'm not supposed to use on here in case I actually put them in the wrong place. So the conversation is really going to be revolving around today, from the collaborative perspective, two things. The first thing is relationships, and the second thing is value. And in order to succeed in business, these are the two keys that I've discovered that these are the two things that you need to master if you want to grow businesses very quickly. You need to master your ability to build relationships and maintain relationships long term, and you need to understand that relationships are driven by what? Relationships are driven by values. Loyalty is a myth. When people tell you that they're loyal, all they're really saying to you is they're loyal to their values. People are not loyal to people, people are loyal to their values. The moment you start compromising, contradicting, conflicting their values, they'll drop you like a hot cake as quick as possible. And this comes from, now I know that there are certain distinctions, like some family members will try and hang on to certain relationships that are very destructive, but truth be known, in order for us to develop relationships at the highest level, we need to understand the concept of values. Now, I'm going to assume, because I'm in a room of professional trainers, that you guys have all had some form of values training, or you understand the concept of what values are? Yep. Yes or no? Yes? Are you guys cool to participate? Yes. Okay, because I'm not a professionally trained. I think it's fair to say you guys are all professionally trained speakers, so you're going to critique the fuck out of me, which is awesome.
It's only after you leave.
It's only after I leave, that's fine. Oh, I'm the kind of guy, you could critique me to my face and I'll still love it. But it's really important for you to understand, I am not a professionally trained speaker. Okay, I love to communicate. I'm a conversationalist. So when I stand in front of a room, sorry? What was it? Not yet. Look, I'm sure all of you could teach me, 20 things about how to become a better speaker. But where my skill is in conversations. I'm a really good conversationalist. So in order for me to impart as much information to you as possible, what I'd like to do, rather than me sit here and spew information at you like a fire hose, I'd like to have a conversation. Is that okay? Yes. Phew, okay, it's cool with her. Which means, every now and then I might leave the end of a sentence. There we go. I'll ask you to fill in the the next word, the blank. I just want to have a conversation with you because there's nothing worse, and I'm sure all of you have been at those fucking awkward networking events or a party, and you're sitting there and you're having a conversation with like a group of people, and they sit there looking at you like this, and you get that a lot. Well, I'm getting it in bulk right now. Okay, I've got 20 people looking at me a little bit like that. So the more we can communicate on a human level, the more engaged and connected I will become with you, and the more excited I will get, and the more information and the more value I will proceed to deliver. Is that cool with you guys? Yes. Okay, I know it's very cool with you. No, please don't shut up. Just stop yelling at me. Fuck, honestly. No, it's fine, please. Exactly. The more we can connect, the more we can converse, the better. So relationships are driven by values, and you guys all know what values are, right? Yep. What is a value? Sorry? Something you hold dear. Something you hold dear, something that's of importance to you. And it's really important to understand these are the two keys to great wealth. If you can master these two things in business, consequently, you will be able to develop relationships with people who will naturally want to give you money. Now, there was a book that was written by a guy called Stuart Wilde. Has anyone here heard of Stuart Wilde? But when you have money, it's a lot easier to get because once you have it, you realize it's not about money. So in his book, he said, if you have the ability to connect with people and relate to people and raise their energy, people will break down doors, bust through walls, and climb through windows in order to spend time with you. All you need then is a billing system. So this is fundamentally going to drive that. And understanding relationships in the context of business is being able to connect with people through their values in a way that makes them want to be around you, but then you just happen to have products or services that fill the gap and create that billing system. Does this make sense? Yes. But I think it's also fair to say that in business, it's not all happy days, sunshine, lollipops, rainbows and unicorns. Would you agree with that? And again, most people don't want to talk about this. Most people want to, especially speakers, not you guys, because I know you guys deal in the real world, but most speakers want to come into a room like this and tell you that making money is really very easy. Building businesses is really very easy. And after 16 years of battle, after 16 years of war, I've learned that growing businesses is actually really fucking hard. It's hard work, it's stressful, okay? It can be taxing, there are so many sacrifices that need to be made. And oftentimes, you know, that wasn't in the brochure. Would anyone agree with this? You know, oftentimes we get into business, and when we get into business for the first time, you know, we're basically in business, we're in this, you know, we're in this upward trajectory, but when we get into business for the first time, I call people who get into business for the first time the uninformed optimist. People who are in a startup are typically very uninformed, and I mean ignorant, borderline ignorant, if not deep ignorant. But they're very optimistic. And I often think that is what is required in order to survive as a startup, because if you actually knew what you're getting into, you're probably, true? Yeah. You probably wouldn't start it.
I'm in that category at the moment.
You're in that category at the moment?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Not yet. That's all right. Not yet, but very short. We'll just put them there just in case. Now, but the uninformed optimist stage of your business is an essential part, especially in startup, because being uninformed and very optimistic gives you a level of energy and drive that enables you to go out there and connect with people in a human way so that you can relate and potentially add value. It's not a very good place to be making decisions, okay? But it is a very good place to be connecting and building relationships. But oftentimes when we, and by the way, has anyone here got kids?
Yes.
Okay, so most of you would know this, or maybe you don't. When my wife got pregnant, I started getting dragged along to all of these different seminars and workshops on prenatal hypnobirthing stuff, right? And I was made to sit down and watch two-hour YouTube videos of women giving birth in the Red Sea with dolphins swimming around. It was incredible, right? But one of the things that I learned was about this thing called birthing amnesia. And birthing amnesia is what happens once a woman gives birth. Her body releases a range of certain chemicals that actually induce amnesia. And now, do you want to take a guess at why that happens? Yeah, so we actually get to have sex more than once, right? It's all about us, all right? It's all about us. Yeah, there's always one in every group who goes, that did not fucking happen. I remember every single tear. And that explains everything. You've obviously got a gene mutation, because some women have a gene mutation where they don't release those chemicals, and as a result, they remember birth and they typically don't breed. And there aren't many of those. But it's an honour to be in the presence of one. That's just
what you missed was Karina actually saying, no, I just don't want another child.
It wasn't the pain of childbirth, it was the pain of the child.
Do you know what? That's going to be on the video.
That's not what she said. That's not what I said.
So yeah, and again, it's almost like this is what's required in the early stages of business. Now, just so I can again calibrate the room, who's in the early stages, early startup stage? Okay, who's in the intermediate stages of business?
How many years?
So I'm talking intermediate is 3 to 6 years, and who's like long term, like 8 to 12 plus? Okay, fantastic. So we've got a nice bit of a breakdown. But at some point during this uninformed optimistic stage, we have what's called the realization event. And the realization event is some kind of a realization where you go, oh, wow, this isn't actually as easy as I thought it was going to be. This is actually a lot harder. This is a lot more stressful. This is a lot more difficult. This is a lot more challenging. You mean I have to pay tax and pay, what? Hang on, I didn't, BAS? What's a BAS statement? And you start to realize that things aren't as easy as what you thought they were going to be. And you start to realize that this wasn't on the brochure that you bought. And I call this a realization the informed skeptic stage, where all of a sudden you are now no longer ignorant, you're now very informed, but you're no longer optimistic, you're now a little bit skeptical. You're still optimistic? Fantastic. So you've got through that. Can anyone relate to that feeling though, where all of a sudden you have this awakening, you realize it's a lot tougher than you thought it was going to be, and you now go, oh fuck, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should go back and get a job. But then you realize, oh hang on, I'm amazing. And it can't be me because I'm amazing. It must be the product, the service, the business, the industry, the market, whatever. We come up with some external factor, and that's where people go, well, I'm clearly amazing because look at me. And they go, well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and try something else. And rather than progress forward, they actually come backwards and they start again. Because I'm sure you'd agree, much like being in love, the uninformed optimistic stage is highly addictive because there is an enormous combination of chemicals that are driving through your body when you're in this phase. You believe you can, and who remembers that feeling? Like you can conquer, you're there now. Yeah. Yes, enjoy it while it lasts, okay?
Anyone bursting a bubble?
No, don't burst a bubble, it'll happen naturally. You know, and this is the thing a lot of people don't understand. I actually sell hard work. Like, I'm not here to tell you that this is going to be easy. I'm here to actually warn you and say, make sure you really want to do this because what you're getting yourself into is really fucking hard. And if you're not prepared for this, I actually just released a video that went a little bit viral 2 weeks ago that said, can anyone be an entrepreneur? And, you know, I used to believe that anyone could be an entrepreneur. And now I say, no, absolutely not. Some people don't have the mettle that is required to go through the multiples of these realization events in order to get to the other side. So this is what I call the cycle of failure. And the cycle of failure is where you have one person that is typically constantly seeking the feeling of the uninformed optimist. They're constantly going from one new thing to another new thing to another new thing because they just want that sparkly new thing. And I'm sure everybody has one of those friends that goes from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship. And every single time they attract the same type, the same archetype, same stereotype of individual, whether it be a man or a woman, and then every time, within 2 to 3 months, they get bored, and then they want that new feeling again. And who can relate to that feeling of being in love and go, I actually like that feeling of love, being in love. But then at some point you mature to a point where you realize the feeling of being in love isn't actually love. The feeling of being in love is nothing more than an emotional response to a trigger that happened to feel good. But like alcohol, at some point that feeling subsides, and you have to wake up and look at the person that you're sleeping next to. Was that too much? I missed that. At some point, we've got to be willing to commit and go to that next level. And what's required to do that is a level of informed optimism. Okay, where you've been through the battles, you've been through the wars, because the truth be known, this doesn't just happen once. This happens on a very regular basis. You know, one of the greatest challenges for entrepreneurs isn't these realization events. This is, and again, this is what we've got to understand as business people, as trainers, as owners. These realization events are the price of entry. You know, this is the price that we must pay if we want to go to the next level in business. Because every single problem you've got in your life right now is by definition a lesson that you have asked for in order to get to the next level. But because it feels uncomfortable, you go, oh, I don't fucking want this. This is unexpected. No. I want it to be all good. That's not how business is. Business isn't about giving you what you want. Business is about giving you what you need so that you can learn what it is that's required so that you can actually get what you want. Does this make sense? But unfortunately, yeah, fucking leave now, forever hold your peace. But unfortunately for most of us, because of the pain, the emotional pain that we associate or the meanings that we create when these things happen, we want to reject not only the event, but we reject the event, and by proxy, what do we also reject? The lesson. And so it keeps repeating itself and repeating itself and repeating itself. So there's two things we've got to understand when it comes to business if we want to succeed at the highest level. The first thing, business is a game of perspective. And there's two perspectives. It's about perspective and it's about stress. And there's two perspectives. There's the short-term perspective and then there is the long-term perspective. The short-term perspective is 6 to 12 months, maybe 3 years. But let's call it the 6 to 12. And stress is determined by our ability to attain what is it we're trying to do based on our perspective in which we're trying to attain it. Does this make sense? So if you get into business, and I'm going to use you as the example because you're a freshie, okay, you get into business for the first time, what is that magic number that everyone wants to make? They want to make $1 million, right? I want to make $1 million. And how quickly do they want to make it? Tomorrow, yesterday, 3, 6, yeah, I can definitely do it in 12 months, right? This financial year, right? Never run a business in my entire life, but I'm going to fucking build $1 million one in the next 12 months. Does anyone know, based on the economic data from Australia, the US, and the UK, on average, how long it takes, on average, for a business to go from startup to a 7-figure business? I wish. 7 to 10 years on average it takes to build a 7-figure business, to build $1 million business. But the challenge is you've got hordes of entrepreneurs between the ages of 15 and 55 that are trying to fucking do it in 6 to 12 and sitting there scratching their head why it doesn't happen within that period of time. You need to understand, not only does it take 7 to 10 years to build $1 million business, you've also got to understand by the 10-year mark, less than 2% of businesses that started will actually still be in business. There is nothing in your favour when you get into business. Everything is against you. And if you have that understanding, and again you're thinking, fuck, I thought this guy was a motivational speaker. What the hell? I'm not here to motivate you. If the truth happens to motivate you, if the byproduct of truth is you become inspired, fantastic. But I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to tell you the truth based on my experience. I don't believe I hold the book of answers, but what I do know is I've spent 18 years in 154 different industries, 11 countries around the world, working with thousands of fucking business owners, and I've seen all the patterns. I'm not saying I've seen every single one, but I've seen all of them. Okay, that was a little bit, yeah. And the biggest pattern that I see is too many people are trying to do things too quickly, and when they don't happen, they experience high levels of stress that prevent them from making better decisions. Because the very key thing that's preventing you from being a better business owner right now is your ability to make fast and quick decisions. And the very thing that prevents you from making fast and quick decisions is stress. Does anyone here work in the field of stress? Okay, well, you're going to fucking love this, right?
I love it already.
You love what? You do? Excellent. Fantastic. I'm winning. So stress. What is stress?
Reaction.
Stress is a chemical reaction as a result of how you perceive and interpret a situation based on the meaning that you allocate it in the moment. Something happens. You have a realization event. You go, oh my God, this is bad. You create a bad meaning, and then your body goes, well, this is obviously stressful. Then your body releases a little hormone called cortisol. And cortisol is magical. It has this incredible ability within 7 minutes to halve your IQ. No shit. Cortisol, within 7 minutes, has the ability to affect the way that your stomach digests proteins and the way your brain actually receives those proteins. It can halve your IQ in 7 minutes flat. If you doubt me, let's battle test it. Has anyone here ever done anything really fucking stupid whilst they were stressed? All the time. Only to then sober up and go, what was I thinking? Honestly, that was just the stupidest thing I could have possibly done. Now, why did you look at him when you said that? Are you guys married?
He's the real all at his house.
All at his house.
We're all married.
I'm prone to be the person who leads people on drinking excursions.
What was your name again? Troy. Great to meet you. Troy, fantastic. Great to meet you, man. Awesome.
My hometown tonight,
So here's the thing, right? Stress. Not good, but to be expected. Business is stressful, it's as simple as that. But what drives stress to a higher level is our perspective. And if you're trying to build something quicker than it is what is probable, you're going to experience greater opportunities for stress than every single person in your environment. If you have a longer term perspective, if you're going, okay, I'm going to build $1 million business in the next 10 years, and you completely fuck it up for the first 12 months to 2 years, and your perspective is genuinely 10 years, at the end of 2 years, if you are genuinely long-term perspective, what are you going to say? I've got 8 years to go. Awesome, no problem.
I know what not to do.
Exactly, but if your perspective is 12 months, and at the end of the first 9 months, you haven't made fucking $1 million. You're in negative 30, right? At 9 months, you're negative 30,000. But your perspective is 12 months to success, what do you think is going to happen? Massive levels of stress, massive levels of anxiety, massive levels in some cases of blame, hysteria, depending on your personality type and what comes with that, right? If I could, yeah, no worries. I'm an addict, I can't touch drugs, unfortunately. I've had to learn how to regulate naturally. So here's the thing, the longer our perspective, the easier it is for us to regulate stress. Because not only have I got a fascination in business, I've got a fascination in special forces and professional sports. And one of the things that they do in special forces and professional sports with professional sports people is they teach this little thing called conditioning. In special forces, it's called high-level stress conditioning, where they actually insert people, like for example, Navy SEALs. I've got a massive interest in the US Navy SEALs. And the way that they train their Navy SEALs is they actually put them into live battle scenarios. So they're not shooting blanks over their head, they're shooting live ammunition, live bombs going off, mortar fire, everything. I'm talking, it is completely full on. And they train like that just for 6 weeks to see if they can get in. And once they get in, that continues for at least another 3 months before any deployment. Now, why do you think that they would do, why would they induce such high-level stressful scenarios to soldiers before they put them into combat?
So that when they're in that situation,
it's natural. So when they're in that situation, they get out of the helicopter, they rappel down the line, they get off the boat, and all of a sudden bullets are zinging past their head. They go, oh yeah, this is normal. And this is what we've got to understand. This is normal. Okay? And here's the thing, I'll teach you the strategy, but if I can't get you to regulate stress in a healthy way, it doesn't matter what I give you because you'll fuck it up. Does this make sense?
absolutely.
The thing that we need to learn how to do more than anything else is not only learn how to manage our psychology, but we've got to learn how to regulate stress in a healthy and efficient and effective way that enables us not to be overwhelmed with cortisol so that we can still make great decisions in these situations. Because what I'm suggesting to you right now is these realization events don't actually have to be stressful. These realization events can actually be quite clear, lucid, and incredibly powerful when you are able to regulate the stress out of the situation, look at what you're dealing with and go, right, what's the lesson here? What's the benefit here? How can I use this to build upon this so I can move forward? Hindsight's a beautiful thing. And who's ever had something really fucking bad happen, only 6 to 12 months, 2 years later, you look back and you go, oh, you know what? If it wasn't for that thing, I wouldn't be here. I'm so grateful for that. Who's had that, right? Imagine doing that in the moment. Fuck waiting 2 years. Imagine doing it within 30 seconds. Imagine from the moment every single thing happens in your life moving forward from this day, every bad thing that happens, every single thing, regardless of what it is, every time it happens you go, oh my God, what am I learning right now? What is the benefit of this? How is this going to serve me? How is this going to build me? What is this going to bring me forward? Imagine living in a world like that, where you actually didn't resist realization, you embraced realization. Because here's the thing, do you know what the key is to embracing stress at the highest level? Gratitude. And let me tell you why. It's all chemistry. I have got a massive interest in not just biochemistry, but also quantum mechanics, particle physics, anything to do with how we operate at a higher level and interact with our human world, our material world. I'm fascinated by it. Biochemically speaking, there is only one hormone in the body that can actually drop cortisol, drop the levels of cortisol in your bloodstream. And does anyone know what it is? Not test. Well, it's a form of testosterone. It's called DHEA. DHEA. Can't pronounce it, but I can give you the acronym, right? Dextrohydro Exi la la la. It's called DHEA. Okay. And DHEA is released naturally when we experience states of gratitude. So when we actually experience states of gratitude, our adrenal glands naturally release DHEA, which lowers the cortisol in our bloodstream. And actually, and guess what DHEA does apart from lower cortisol? Oh, it's good for the libido, yeah. Hello, high five, yeah. Hey. Wink, wink. What else does DHEA do? Lowers your heart rate. Okay, it actually fights cancer. It actually rebuilds neurons. Okay, DHEA makes you smarter, live longer, and increases your well-being and your mood. It is literally, like DHEA now is a big anti-aging supplement that is used. You can actually buy it over the counter in the US. It's more regulated over here. But you actually don't need to take the pill. All you need to do is think about something that you're grateful for. And what do you think would be a really powerful way to regulate stress in the moment in order for you to remain neurally awake and alert to be able to adapt and regulate, process the information so that you can embrace the lesson that's there? I am so grateful that I've had this realization moment right now. I'm so glad that I fucking dropped this. I'm so glad that this happened. But I'm sure you'd be going, but how on earth can I be grateful for this? Whatever that is, I don't give a fuck. And it's not that I don't care about you, I just care for you. And the way I care for you is by helping you see the bigger picture, which is from 2 years from now, you will look back on this moment and go, I'm so grateful that this happened. But rather than putting yourself through torture for the next 2 years, start saying thank you now. And the way that you say thank you now, the way you get to that moment is you ask 3 questions. What is the benefit of this? How is this serving me? And what is this giving me that I don't currently have? What skill, discipline, trait, talent is this giving me that I don't currently have? What is the benefit of this? How is this serving me? And what is the skill, trait, discipline, or talent that this is giving me that I don't currently have? Now, if you are emotionally weak, you'll go, how is this serving me? It isn't serving me, it's horrible. But if you keep drilling the brain is literally the most incredible supercomputer that we have available to us right now. And it is a responsive piece of hardware, which means if you keep putting in information, if you keep putting in a question, at some point it will have no choice but to give you the answer. The question comes down to your discipline and consistency. Do you have the discipline to consistently ask the question for long enough in order for the answer to come back? Or are you in such a great emotional flux that your discipline goes out the window and you can't ask the question enough in order to get the right answer? Does this make sense? Yes. Is this resonating with you, this message? Yes. Because as I said, I can go straight into the content if that's what you guys want. But as I said, if I give you the content and you don't understand how to regulate, and by the way, I run a program called Nail It and Scale It, where 3 days we go through a lot of this information. But we spend probably in those 3 days, at least 40% of those 3 days just going through psychology. And the reason psychology is so important is because 80% of your response to the game that you're playing in business is determined by how you have wired your brain. That is what you... You are in trouble, young lady. But I see that as an indicator of serendipity that I'm on the money. Because even the gods, the text message gods agree with me. Because this is what I've learned. In the last 18 years I've been growing, as I said, buying, building, selling for the last 18 years. So the last 16 years I've been training other people how to do it as well. And here's what I've learned. I can take two people and give them the same piece of information. One will become a raging success and build a multi-million-dollar operation, and one will sit there and whinge and bitch and moan about the whole world is against them. The only difference between those two people has nothing to do with academic qualification whatsoever, has nothing to do with ethnicity, has nothing to do with education, okay, or intellect. It has everything to do with their psychology. And your ability to control your own mind and thought processes and regulate the chemistry in your own body will be determined by your psychology and the way that you interact with your environment. And that's why I spend so much time before I even go into any content on understanding what is it we're up against. As I said, I sell hard work. I am not the guy that I'm not going to sit here and say, okay, I've got a button for sale that I can put on the wall. All you got to do is press it for 15 minutes a day, the roof opens up and money comes showering down. Who's heard that shit before though? Yeah. Okay. And what typically happens?
Money shines down on them.
Somebody wins. There's always somebody winning. So the next 90 minutes, it's going to be probably more like 60 minutes now, or okay, we've got 70 minutes. I'm going to take you through the inner workings of high volume lead generation. I'm also going to take you through what I call the 5 pillars of nailing and scaling it. I changed my model 2 years ago. Up until 2 years ago, I had about 7 or 8 programs that I used to run that ranged from 3 days to 5 days. Then 2 years ago, I threw everything out, took the best of everything, and I put it into a 3-day format, which is called an implementation and immersion format. And it does what it says on the box. Because I know many of you have probably been to seminars, not like this one, but other seminars where you sit down for 3 days and you take plenty of notes, but at the end of 3 days, what do you have? Well, you have plenty of notes, okay? But then you have to go back into the real world and implement. And we all know what happens then, right? What I do that's a little bit different in my training, much like what you're doing here, is we execute and implement on everything that we do. And I'm going to actually show you my entire model. My model is called the 5-pillar model, and it's the 5 pillars to nail and scale. I'm going to take you through and show you exactly what we do there. I'm also going to take you through the 7 steps to fast growth. The 7 steps to fast growth is the collaborative model, okay? And I'm going to show you every single step of how to collaborate with other businesses in order to increase the level of leads that are coming your way, in some cases dramatically depending on the level of work that you do. Am I in your way? Did you want to take a photo of that?
You're in it.
Oh, is this a video?
It's going to be.
It's going to be, yeah, of course, I don't mind, it's up to your host. Is that okay?
Can I ask you a question?
No. Of course you can, yeah.
Would you rather we put 100% attention on you and don't write notes and stuff, in which case you might share your slides, or...
Happy to share my slides, no issue. So just sit back, relax, enjoy, allow the information to pass over you, and let's connect as human beings. Okay, I'll give you the slides, no issue there whatsoever. So yeah, first of all, it's probably important to have a little bit of go backwards, stop looking at me in bed. A little bit of a delay. That was a bit of a snort. That was a bit of a snort, wasn't it? Before I get right into the content, do you think it would be perhaps beneficial if I just spent maybe 2.5 to 3 minutes giving you my backstory? Would that be helpful? Okay. I failed every subject from year 1 all the way through to year 12. I didn't pass anything. I passed one subject once. Actually, I went to high school in Brisbane, Springwood High, and the only subject I ever passed once was we actually called it vegetable maths. And I'm pretty sure the only reason I passed it was because I smoked a joint with my maths teacher, and he was afraid that I was going to tell somebody. So I think he gave me a one-off. Great strategy, yes. Seems to be a bit of a delay. I don't know if it's me or... There we go. At the age of 15, again, this is an important part of my backstory. It'll make more sense in a moment. I don't know if you can see I've got 2 very large scars on my wrist there. I didn't try to attempt suicide. I just got drunk for the first time when I was 15. And when I was 15, I got drunk for the first time. I was drinking a very masculine drink, by the way. It's called West Coast Cooler. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that's right. That's how we roll in Queensland. Exactly, that's it. When you're 15, you'll basically drink whatever you can steal from your parents' fridge, right? Oh, that's... Am I weird? I actually like Stone's ginger wine. So anyway, after my second stubby, or I was on my second stubby, I was living in Townsville at the time, a mob of roos went bounding past. I picked up the bottle, I went chasing after the roos, I fell over with the bottle in my hand, and I cut all my nerves and my tendons and my main artery. Nearly bled to death on the side of the road 13 days after my 15th birthday. Came into hospital, 13.5 hours of microsurgery, woke up the next morning. My mum was actually overseas on work at the time, so I was living by myself. I had no one there, so I was completely alone, totally isolated. Picture that for a moment. And the doctor comes in, he goes, "Hey kid, I hate to be the one to tell this to you, but you are now disabled." He said, "We've tried to do everything we possibly can to repair the hand, but the damage was too great. It was basically like a cheese grater's gone through it. But you'll be lucky to get 20% of your hand back." 15 years old. No academic, no one there. The only ability that I had when I was 15 was the ability to run fast and lift heavy things. I was an athlete. And, you know, and it was my right hand as well. And was that? Oh, mate. And what are the 2 most important things to a right-handed 15-year-old boy? Honestly, where are you going?
Well, because if you were in a sport, it was javelin throwing, right?
Yeah.
You must have become really good at the next day.
Oh, come on. Let's keep it above. The 2 most important things to me was football, and I couldn't imagine going out on the football field and going, "Pick me, pick me." And the other thing was girls. And I couldn't imagine going out to a girl and saying, "Hey baby, how about a back scratch?" Because that's what the doctor said. He said, "You'll end up with a hand that looks something like a claw if you don't have regular physiotherapy." 12 months later, to the day, I rocked up to have an assessment with the surgeon. I walked in, he said, "Show me your hand." I started doing this. He said, "What you're doing is medically impossible." He said, "Is there anything you can't do?" And I said, "Just that." We then got into an altercation around medical ethics, and I was escorted off the hospital, Townsville General Hospital. I was escorted off the grounds by a security guard and asked to find another specialist. But look, the moral of the story is, this is one of the reasons I'm standing here today, is because I was told at the age of 15 that I was going to be disabled. His punchline was, bedside, he said, "Oh, don't worry, son, at least you'll be eligible for disability pension." That was his punchline. I swear to God. Now, I tell you this because this is the reason I'm here, because I learned how to conquer the impossible. And there's no such thing as impossible. And again, there's all these, Marilyn Monroe says it's impossible, or whoever, right? J. Edgar Hoover. But it's really important to understand your relationship with the term "that can't be done" has a massive impact on what you can actually do, obviously. And for me, this served me very, 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 very greatly, especially at the age of 34, when I had a massive stroke. This is my MRI. It's 3 centimetres of my brain that no longer exists. This is me. There's a real strong delay. I don't know if it's... This is... there we go. This is me. I don't know if you can see I'm in intensive care. This is me probably about a week in, after being in hospital for a week, going for my 2nd or 3rd MRI. Within 3 hours of me having the stroke, I lost the ability to communicate properly, and I had a 15-second memory. And I don't know if you can imagine what a 15-second memory is, but imagine being able to hide your own Easter eggs, okay? I'm glad you enjoyed it, mate. We can have a drink over it later, right? Yeah, a 15-second memory is one of those things where it's a challenge. Now, please understand that was short-term memory, not long-term memory. So I still remembered who people were, their faces and everything else, but I'd be having a conversation with you 15 seconds later, someone would hit the reset button and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, what were we talking about again?" And what that actually gave me the opportunity to do is it gave me the opportunity to develop my intuition. Now, just to give you some greater context, my father was one of the top OECD economists in the world, and my mother is a clairvoyant and a psychic. Ta-da! Yeah, what an interesting combination, right? The marriage lasted long enough for two beautiful boys to come out of it, which was about 2.5 years, and well, I was the other one. Oh, that's pretty good. You know what? Do you know what I like about you? No, seriously, do you know what I like about you? Oh, I ain't got nothing, so give me something. I appreciate that. That was very well done. That was very well good. No, please go there. I'm fine.
I was just going to say maybe you should save your breath because you might have to blow your girlfriend up when you get home.
Oh, that's inappropriate.
Yeah.
Just kidding. So anyway, basically I was told I'd be lucky if I'd be back at work within 12 months. I spent 2.5 weeks in hospital. For 2.5 weeks, I had every test under the sun to find out why I had this stroke. There's a whole other story to that. I talk about it in Nail and Scarlet. I don't have the time to do it now. But for 2.5 weeks in hospital, I walked around playing memory games and talking to myself. Just memory games, talking to myself. Memory games, talking to myself. And has anyone seen that Jill Bolte-Taylor TED Talk? Thankfully, someone brought that in on a thumb drive, played it for me the day after I actually had the stroke. Well, yeah, and I watched that entire movie probably 40 times while I was in hospital because she gave me the language to explain what happened to me because I didn't know how to explain it because I couldn't remember at that time. But the beautiful thing is when this happened, the doctor said, okay, this could be permanent, you could be permanently brain impaired, you may not ever be able to work again. And when he started telling me this, where do you think I went? I went back to the 15-year-old kid and I just went, you know what? I've had enough of listening to you, doc, but I appreciate your perspective. I got it from here. Because they couldn't tell me. I didn't give him the finger. I learnt my lesson. I needed that hospital. I needed that hospital. But it is a very, very interesting backstory as to what happened, as to how I got there. And it was very serendipitous. And it was a realization moment that I created. And from the moment the stroke happened, I knew I'd created it. And so at no point, even when I was with the doctors, was I going, oh no, poor me. I just went with it because I knew it was something that had to happen. It was a blessing, literally and actually physically, as it happened and how it rolled out. So, wow, this is really unresponsive.
Is it because it's going through the water bottle?
Is it going through the water bottle? No. There we go. Maybe. Oh, what did I do? Did I do something?
No, keyboard.
No, I think it's on the...
Oh, for fuck's sake. Another snort.
Would you like someone to help?
I clearly need it, don't I? How do I, do you want to perform autocorrect? Escape cancel. There's got to be an escape on here. There we go. There we go. All right. Hey, we'll get through this together.
Yeah.
It is after all about collaboration.
Everything is awesome.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. You're awesome, by the way. You really are. So I'll give you guys a short version. Brain injury and a physical disability. I failed school, as I already said. What I didn't tell you, I was diagnosed at 7 with ADHD and dyslexia. For those of you who don't know what those terms mean. Yes. A lot of people really... Do you know what I found fascinating is that most people actually don't know what those terms mean. ADHD means that I have an untapped amount of energy to be able to juggle multiple tasks at any one time with high levels of motivation and intensity, which is obvious. And dyslexia means that I have the unique ability to be able to look at the world and my surroundings and every problem and situation that I have and have creative solutions that most people can't think of because I see them differently. Does this make sense?
Yep.
I actually have had... I love to research wealth and specifically self-made wealth, and there is a very strong correlation between self-made entrepreneurs and either and/or dyslexia and ADHD. Yes. And I have had many people come to the back of the room after events like this and go, Kerwin, I don't have dyslexia. What am I supposed to do? True story. I worked well on the job, but I discovered that I didn't handle authority very well, which is probably why most of you are in business for yourself, especially this guy over here. Hates being told what to do.
I just became a manager in every corporate job because I didn't like the authority.
Yeah, and so you can relate to that, right? And I think most people can, especially most entrepreneurs. We love the idea of knowing what to do, but we hate being told what to do, which is why we get into business and then we struggle for the first 5 years because we don't ask for any fucking help. Because
We don't like being told what to do. We don't like being told what to do by an idiot.
by
An idiot.
an idiot, okay, fair enough. And so we resign from working for an idiot and then we open a business and work for a dickhead, right? Right? And what I mean by that, and again, I know I don't mean to be crass, but what I mean is this challenge, authority challenge, is the reason that most people struggle in business for so long. because they don't want to be told what to do. That's why I got into business in the first place. But my friend, you don't know how to run a business. You're very good at a skill set, or you might have a certain talent, but if you don't know how to run a business, you need someone to tell you what to do. And oftentimes it takes 3 to 4 to 5 years of humblings before we humble ourselves to the point where we go, okay, I submit, I'm now ready to receive information if someone's willing to actually share it with me. Failed on my own. One thing I haven't told you is in the last 18 years, I have failed 3 times. And by failed, once upon a time, and I didn't live in this time, when there was no credit, when you failed, you went to 0. When my entrepreneurial journey began, credit was available. And so it was very easy to go screaming past 0 into negative territory. After one of my business failed, I was at the age of 23. I was $220,000 in debt at the age of 23. So I actually know what it's like to fail. I know what it's like to eat dirt. I actually even know what it's like not to eat for 2 days, because I didn't actually, not only did I not have any money, but I was also too embarrassed to actually ask anyone for any help. And so I literally didn't eat for 2 days. And the previous 2 weeks, I survived off 2 packets of tortillas. What are they called? The tortillas. You know those tortillas?
Tacos.
Taco wraps. But what's that brand? I still see it. The yellow. El Dorito? El Paso? No, not the taco shells. Old El Paso. I had 2 packets of 10 Old El Paso tortillas and a packet of hot English mustard. And I lived off that for 2 weeks. So I know what it's like to do it tough, okay? I know what it's like to do it hard. But I think it's important, by the way, to have had that experience. So I know what it's like to fail. My story is I tried to do everything on my own. I wouldn't ask for help. I had no plan to follow, and I had no one to hold me to a high standard. Can anyone relate to any of those things?
A little bit.
Okay, fantastic. The shift that I had, I admitted that I needed help, okay? And then I actually went looking for help. And this is where I actually found my first mentor. And the first mentor that I had, his name was, some of you might actually know who he is. His name's Peter Sun. Has anyone heard of Peter Sun? Okay. I now actually made the connection. Is that you guys? Is that?
I don't know.
No?
I know Drew's face, but yeah, no, I don't.
You guys are obviously connected in some way. Anyway, point being, I found my first mentor, and by the way, when I found him, I didn't know that there was actually a thing called mentors. But someone said to me, "You need a mentor," and I was like, "What's that?" And they said, "It's someone that gives you guidance and advice in business." I was like, "Wow, those people exist?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, where do I find them?" He said, "I'm not sure." So I started asking around, "Where do I find a mentor? Where do I find a mentor?" And then a friend of mine gave me this guy's business card, and I rang him and I went and met him down at Burleigh Heads at a little restaurant that's not there anymore called Mermaids. Sat down, and for half an hour he asked me questions about my situation, and I explained what was going on. He goes, "Yeah, you're in a pretty shitty situation. Sounds like you need my help." And I said, "What do you do?" He told me all of the success stories that he had about Cat Media and a whole bunch of different people. He'd made people millions of dollars. And I said, "Fantastic, when can we get started?" And he said, "As soon as you pay my fee." And I was like, "Fantastic, no worries." Well, first of all, I was like, "Oh, this costs money?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay, how much does it charge? How much do you charge?" And I leant forward to grab my wallet out of my pocket, and he goes, $80 grand. I was like, "Oh, fuck, I'll leave that there." And I said, "I don't have 80 grand. And he said, "You're either going to find a way or an excuse. It's not a question." Well, first of all, he's a Czechoslovakian. He's 6'4", brown, and he stands bolt upright in a crowded restaurant so fast that the chair skids back behind him and everybody looks. And he looks down at me pointing like a naughty boy and he goes, "Kerwin, you're either going to find a way or an excuse. It's not a question of resources, it's a question of resourcefulness. Have a good life." Turned around and walked out. Hadn't even finished his lunch. Now, I will admit, I did eat a few chips off his plate. Don't tell me I'm not resourceful. He left me with the bill. So I felt like I should eat the chips off the plate. But I left. Look, I was so embarrassed. I stumbled around. I paid the bill. I left and I drove home to Brisbane in my girlfriend's Mitsubishi Mirage that used to stall at every red light. And on the way home, I just asked this question. What did he mean by that? What does he mean by it's not a question of resources, it's a question of resourcefulness? What did he mean I'm going to find a way or an excuse? What did he mean? And then I clicked and I was like, he means I can find the money if I really want it. So I said, how do I get the money? And I probably asked that question 150 or 200 times between what's called Nerang and Red Hill, where I was living at the time. And by the time I got home, I drove into the driveway. I came up with my very first funding strategy. Do you want to know what it was? Yeah. 4 credit cards, 4 $20,000 credit cards, all submitted simultaneously under the illusion. I was thinking, oh, they'll never catch on to this. But by some love of God, they didn't, and they all got approved. And I got my money, And I started with him. And then one of the first things he did is he taught me a new way of thinking, but he also gave me a plan. And up until that point, I didn't have a plan. You know, my plan was to wake up every morning and try and work out what I had to do and compete with the attention from my inbox for the things that were actually genuinely important. And thankfully, back then, there wasn't such thing as called Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or any forms of social media. And not only did he give me a plan, he also gave me a community of people to support me. And he put them all around me, many of who you've met and you know. And my action was actually rewarded. Not only did I start making money, he actually ended up hiring me into his business. Okay, and I started working with him and partnering with him, and then I started working with a whole bunch of other businesses that I started and I joint ventured and I partnered with. So what I want to do now is I want to get to the collaborative component of what we're going to do together. And what I'm talking about here is joint ventures. And has anyone here ever done a joint venture before? Okay, fantastic. Who would like to learn how to do them at the highest level, really strategically? Excellent. So joint venture, we need to know what a joint venture is first. A joint venture is essentially two things. The first thing that it is, are you okay? You need water? All good? First thing is it's two or more businesses coming together for mutual benefit. Now, what do you think is the key word here? Mutual. Mutual benefit. Too many people, they hear or they learn about the concept of joint ventures, and their approach to people when they sit down with them is all about them and what they can get out of it. One of the things that I've learned when it comes to building businesses is the importance of two things: relationships and value. And you do not build a relationship by trying to extract value from another human being. That's what's called neediness. And neediness is an act of threat. It's a sign of threat. When you look at it from a primal level, people that need things from us actually shut us down and make us want to run away. Who has been around someone before that is so desperate to get something from you, the only thing that you can think about is how you get out of that situation? Can anyone relate to that? And this is commercially, this is a lot more abrupt as well. The second thing that it is, wow. Point. The second thing that it is, there we go, all right. Is it me or is it the clicker? It works for you? I'm not surprised. You know this. I have this effect on technology. I can black out an entire room that has backup generators. It's, yeah.
It's the technology because it went invisible when Kerwin was using it.
Is that right? It went invisible. So this actually disappeared.
Threw it on the floor
Right.
underneath the table.
But it disappeared.
It's not exactly invisible.
Don't drop it, you can't find it on the carpet.
What a joint venture really is it's hyper-leveraged word of mouth. And I'm sure you'd agree the best form of marketing on the planet is word of mouth. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Why? Why is it so potent?
Because we trust the person.
We trust them?
And we already feel like we've got a relationship with them.
Got a relationship? It's coming from a trusted source. So as a result, the information comes with authority. So word of mouth is one of the most potent forms. A joint venture is, how do I get one person, instead of them referring one person to me, how do I get them to refer 5,000 people to me? How do I get them to refer 500 people to me? How do I get them to refer 50 people to me? Or how do I get them to refer 20 people to me? A joint venture is taking word of mouth and essentially exponentially increasing the exposure by a significant amount in the process that we're going to go through. It's used, again, did you see that? Yeah. It's used by 98% of Fortune 500 companies, but in Australia, guess what percentage of small businesses actually use joint ventures as a strategy to grow? Less than 2%. It's nuts, absolutely crazy. Okay, so, whoa, that's not me. A joint venture that most of you have probably heard of before is one between Disney and McDonald's. And I'm sure you've probably heard of it before. There's so many of them done. Most of you have probably heard of the Happy Meal. Okay, the Happy Meal actually came about as a result of Disney almost going bankrupt. Now, I don't know if many of you know this story. Has anyone actually read Walter Isaacson's Steve Jobs? Okay, brilliant book if you haven't read it. Highly recommended. But they actually talk about this scenario. Going back in the late 70s, early 80s, Disney, the movie department, was going through significant financial stress because they had got into animated feature films. And they had massive issues when it came to distribution and actually getting enough business, getting enough people coming to their films. So they actually brought in a massive ad agency to come in and help them with their issue. So the first thing that the ad agency asked them was, so who's your target market? And who do you think Disney said? Kids. And so the agency obviously had the intelligence to go, okay, well, kids don't make their own decisions. Okay, so if kids are your target market, who are the decision makers of your target market? And they said, parents. So then the ad agency asked them, okay, so if kids are your target market and parents are the decision makers of your target market, What business already has that market captured en masse and has built a long-term trusted and authoritative relationship with them, whereby if they endorsed us, it would give us significant income potential? And who do you think they came up with? McDonald's. And the Happy Meal was born. What a lot of you probably don't know is McDonald's aren't just in the business of burgers and real estate, but they're also in the business of licensing and toys. They are actually one of the largest toy manufacturers under license in the world right now. Also one of the largest property holders, but you probably already knew that as well. But most people don't know that they're one of the largest toy manufacturers. So they manufacture toys under license for Disney, for Pixar, for DreamWorks, and all the toys that you see in the Happy Meal here. And what's really important to understand, an activation from McDonald's costs less than 5 cents. That box that you're looking at right there, does anyone want to take a guess at how much it costs to produce those boxes en masse? But first of all, do you know what's inside that box? That, yes. Okay, correct. It is full of food that is designed, literally designed to induce hyperactivity and emotional intensity. So when a child consumes that rubbish, it produces high levels of energy and anxiety and emotional disruption. But that box, that box, by the way, it costs them 5 cents to produce en masse. Okay, in that box there's also a little toy which costs them about 2 to 3 cents, and there's also inside that box a little voucher that typically has a voucher for buy one get one free at the movies, or adults at kids prices, or in some cases, depending on how desperate they are, it'll be buy one get free, buy one adults at kids prices, buy one get one free. Now you've got to understand the context of what's going on here. How much does a Happy Meal cost? I think when they started it, it was like $1.95. Now I think it's like $5.95 or $4.95. I don't know. Okay, but what I do know is that little toy creates a very large perceived value. Would you agree? For the child, not for the parent. But that voucher, how much is that voucher? What is it? How many? When a family goes to the movies, how many people are typically in attendance? Mum, dad, and 2 kids. Okay, now if mum and dad and 2 kids are able to go, and by the way, how much does an adult ticket cost to the movies now? It's about 20 bucks. Okay, in Sydney it's 20 bucks, 22 bucks in some places, and kids are 15 bucks. So 2 adults, okay, we're talking 40 bucks. 2 kids, it's another 30 bucks. It's 70 bucks just to get in and sit down. Now, if you can get buy one get one free, adults at kids prices, how much does that now cost? We're talking somewhere around $17, okay? And that is so that voucher represents $60 value in a $5 box of shit. Does this make sense? So one of the reasons that this joint venture works is Disney or Pixar or DreamWorks, whoever you want to call upon, they actually provide an immense level of value for the client of McDonald's that creates perceived goodwill. Does this make sense? So the McDonald's client buys the Happy Meal, they get the box, the toy, the voucher, and all the shit that comes with it. But the voucher holds the value to that, where the adult takes it in and goes, wow, I'm actually getting like $50 worth of value here, and it only cost me $5, and I still got a whole meal and I got a little toy as well. But here's where it gets really cheeky. The kid gets the Happy Meal, the parent doesn't even know about the voucher at this point, they only know that they just bought their kid a Happy Meal. But then the kid gets the toy, and what do? Look, Mum, it's Shrek! Shrek, 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 Shrek. Can we go see Shrek? No. Shrek, 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 Shrek. Can we go see Shrek? No. Now the sugar kicks in. Now.
You do that too well.
I know, because I lived this, okay? Who's got kids and knows that that's actually not a hypothetical, that shit happens, right? That shit's for real, okay? Who doesn't have kids? Okay, this is your final fucking warning, okay? You've been warned. But what's really important to understand is the way, the terminology used inside Disney and inside McDonald's is quite incredible. They actually call the voucher a psychological compliance device. And they call the toy an emotional disruptor. So the emotional disruptor is designed to activate the imagination, emotions, and vocal cords. The psychological compliance device is what is presented to the parents for them to rationalize their manipulation from the child. And by the way, they are laughing about it behind closed doors. They actually engineer the food to be more addictive. They engineer the colors to be more psychologically compelling. The level of psychology and biochemistry that goes into McDonald's foods and marketing is it's NASA. It's like they could invest that money into a space program. It's incredible. But my point being is, the thing that makes this really work more than anything else is you go to McDonald's, you go to the cinema, you now go to the cinema, you've been manipulated by your child, you've complied, and then you've even justified because you go, wow, I'm actually getting $70 worth of value, it's going to cost me $17. Actually, this is a really good idea. I'm going to burn like a couple of hours on school holidays. But then you get to the movies and you hand over the vouchers, and guess what happens on the other side of the table? They then give you 50-cent cheeseburger vouchers. And the kids are like, cheeseburgers! And you're like, fuck. Or you're like, oh, great, 50-cent cheeseburgers. And guess what happens when you go to get the 50-cent cheeseburgers? There's 7 fucking toys for every single collection, right? I've been through this.
They want each one.
They want every single one, and the cycle continues. But not only do you get the vouchers at the point of sale, you're then walking into the movies, and what do the kiddies see? They see the popcorn. So they want popcorn, and kids, they don't like to typically share because they want to feel like a big boy. So they want a popcorn, they want a drink, they want an ice cream, they want a chocolate. Okay, the average upsell per person in a Hoyt cinema, does anyone want to take a guess at what it is? It's between $17 and $23 on average per person. Yeah, close, but no cigar. So you get 4 adults going to the movie theatre. Guess how much they're typically paying on shit at the candy bar? Somewhere between $50 and $100. And who knows this is fact? Because you walk in and you're like, oh my God, what did I get? I paid like $50. I got a box of popcorn and a bottle of water. What makes this strategy work, if I can be really abundantly clear, is they start with a very high value offer. And the high value offer is the voucher, okay? We're going to call it the voucher here, but if you account also for the box and the toy and everything else. But what makes this strategy actually work, it isn't the voucher. What makes this strategy and turns it into a multi-billion-dollar strategy is the upsell. And the upsell is when they get there, it's what is it that you extract out of them once they're actually in the cinema? Because for them, they're happy, in some cases, they're happy to give the movie tickets away almost for free because they know the average person is going to spend somewhere between $17 and $23. That's where they make their money. It's just like a service station. Service stations typically don't make money, or the service station owner or licensee or franchisee typically doesn't make money in the fuel. They make money on all the lollies that are at Oompa Loompa height as you walk in. At exorbitant prices.
Shell for a long time, offering 2 for 1 on it. Would you like 2 for 1 on the chocolate?
But we've got to understand this. What can we offer that is of such a high value to a potential joint venture partner that their clients would come in and be absolutely, and I use this a little bit tongue-in-cheek, what is a no-brainer offer that we can offer to people whereby they'd be an idiot not to come and redeem it? And then once they redeem it, what are we then going to use in order to upsell them into other products and services? Okay? And this is where we actually get into the 7 steps to actually make this happen. I'm just going to pull all the steps now so I don't have to keep pressing buttons. Okay? And then I'm going to go through every single one of them. Okay. The 7 steps to setting up a joint venture is the first thing you need to do is you need to identify your best buyers. Now, for those of you who are in startup mode, this is what's called a hypothetical avatar. For those of you who are already in business, you want to go and look at who are my A clients, because most of you have probably been around long enough to know that you have A, B, and C clients, yes? Okay, so you want to identify and profile your A clients. To give you an example of a client that we had, it's a great case study. It was a beauty therapist, and we profiled her clients. We found out who her A clients were. She had about 400 on a database. I then created a series of 10 questions. Those 10 questions were basically looking at where did they spend their time and where did they spend their money. We then went and rang every single one of those 400. We connected with 200 and we asked them those 10 questions. Every single answer was documented in a spreadsheet. We gave them an incentive of a $50 voucher that they could spend on anything in store with any purchase over $50 to participate in the survey. It was set up as a survey. One of the questions that we asked, now by the way, when we asked these questions, what do you think we're looking for? We're looking for a pattern. Okay, we're looking for a pattern. And the pattern that we discovered is when I got the spreadsheet back with all the 10 columns, I was looking for the pattern, and then I got to the question was, what kind of a car do you drive? And then it stood out like the proverbial chicken's teeth. BMW, Mercedes, Audi, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, BMW. 86% of her clients drove either a BMW, Mercedes, or an Audi. So then to us, what was the obvious choice when it came to then identifying a business that we should partner with? Because if literally, if 86% of the clients in this business drove BMW, Mercedes and Audi, is it fair to say that there is a lot of other people who drive BMW, Mercedes and Audi, and we don't have them as our clients? So we approached BMW, Mercedes and Audi. And we said to them, we've just done a survey of our clients, and we've realised that your clients are our clients. So we'd like to give you a $500 gift hamper for you to give to your clients for free every time they buy a car. Now, let's battle test this for a second. Let's battle test the no-brainer in this. If I came to every single one of you right now, let's say I'm a beauty therapist and a massage therapist, and I offered you a gift hamper that had $500 of samples and mini facials and fat wraps and all this kind of stuff, and I said, I'm willing to give this to you for free, and you can give it away to anyone who spends money with you, who would take me up on that offer? Of course you would. Why? It's going to make you look good. It's going to create an enormous level of goodwill. Now, that basket, by the way, it didn't cost us $500. Guess how much that basket cost us? Well, the basket actually cost us...
Because if they were smart, they would have gone to their suppliers and done them.
Well, here we go. Wait on. The basket actually cost $178. Okay, of that breakdown, okay, $173 was in product and $5 was on the basket. We went and approached the supplier and said, because we went to BMW, Mercedes and Audi, and all of them, in less than 5 minutes when I spoke to their marketing manager, they all said, sounds fantastic. What do we have to do to be involved? I said, tell me how many cars you sell on average every week? They told me. I said, fantastic, we'll get the baskets over to you. Now, I won't go into the whole story. I go into the whole story in Nail and Scale. It's very shocking, very interesting, very crazy. But what ended up happening was, I went back to my client. I said, we've got BMW, Mercedes and Audi in. She goes, I decided I don't want to do it anymore. And I was like, well, what do you... And she said, well, it's going to cost me $178. I don't want to do that. And I said, well, hang on a second. Just so we're really clear here, and I said this to the client, we had done the numbers, and we knew her average client was worth $6,600 per annum. Now, you might be thinking, what? Some of her clients were spending $40,000 a year on beauty services. Yes, I know. It's shocking. Some of them were spending $500 a year. Some were spending $20,000 a year. Some were spending $300 a year. Some were spending $12,000 a year. But the average was $6,600 per annum per woman. We also identified that 80% of people who came in store and came and actually purchased something, they became a client for 18 months or more. So we knew for every $178 that we spent, there was a very high probability that they were going to come in store. And if they did, we had an 80% chance that they would convert to a $6,600 client in the next 12 months, and they'd stay with us for 18 months. So the lifetime value was actually over $10,000. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
For a $178 investment. Now, as I said, in Nail It and Scale It, we go through the whole example. There's quite a big case study. She was married to was married to a very famous American director and actor. I had met him at G'day LA. He asked me to work with his wife. I was kind of starstruck. I did it. She was a fucking mad cow. I know you're thinking, hang on, woo. But let me explain. Whoa. I know you're not supposed to talk badly about your clients, but she's a great case study. Let me explain. I came back and said, BMW, Mercedes and Audi have all said yes. And she said, no, I've decided not to do it. And I said, why? She said, it's going to cost me $178 every one. I said, but... And she goes, I don't care, Kerwin. I'd rather go and buy myself. I'd rather spend that money on Jimmy Choos and handbags. I shit you not. That was the polite version of what she said to me. And then I said to her, who supplies the product? She told me. And I said, can I call them? She said, yes. She said, here's their number. It's ringing now. And her words were, when she handed me the phone, please don't embarrass me. And I said, that's okay. You're doing a pretty good job yourself. I actually didn't say that, but I wanted to say that.
Inside voices.
Inside voice. And I said when I spoke to the supplier, I said, listen, we're doing a promotion with BMW, Mercedes and Audi. And we're doing a promotion to all of their clients who buy new cars. And we're considering using you or your competitor as a centerpiece for the promotion. We just thought we'd ring you first because we prefer your products. Would you like to be involved? She put me on hold, spoke to the director, came back and said, I've just spoken to the director. We would love to be involved. There's only one question. I said, what's that? She said, can you roll it out across Australia? And I was like, well, let's just start with fucking Sylvania, shall we? Okay. So they said yes. So that actually didn't cost us anything. I went back to my client. I said, I've now got all the product covered. And guess what she said?
I still don't want to do it.
Still want to do it. Who's going to pay for the basket? Yeah. And you wonder why I say the things that I do. Okay, now you understand.
But what an amazing opportunity to take
What an amazing opportunity to learn. And I basically said to her, unless we can do a joint, unless you can come up with some value proposition for the $2 shop down the road, I got nothing. Long story short, as I said, in Nail and Scarlet, we go into a lot more detail. The joint venture went ahead, okay? For the first 60 that went out, she bought baskets. For the rest of them, she just wrapped them in cellophane. She actually stopped using the baskets, didn't tell me, which actually was a pretty smart move, not to not tell me, but to use cellophane, because then it was $5 and we were shipping out quite a few of these, which you'll find out in a moment. They had this really fancy CRM that basically tracked every sale, and we had codes for all the vouchers, and so thankfully we tracked everything, thankfully. And I said, can you please give me a printout for all the sales for all the codes associated with the promotion? She gave me a printout. I went back out. I said, okay, so just so I know, and this is where I found out. I said, how much have you spent on baskets? And she goes, oh, that's what I've been meaning to tell you. I said, tell me what? She goes, we stopped using baskets. I said, well, how much did you spend? She goes, well, we spent probably about $500 on materials and baskets up until this point. I was like, okay. How much do you think you've made? And she goes, oh, we couldn't have made anything. I said, well, you've made money, clearly. She goes, oh, maybe a few $100s. I was like, keep going. She goes, oh, maybe a few $1,000s. I was like, keep going. Now, if you invested $500 in a strategy, what do you think would be a good return?
10 grand, 5 grand.
You tell me. You tell me.
Over $500 is a good return.
A good return, but what's a great return?
What's the time?
Let's go for 10,000.
3.5 months.
3.5 months. 20,000. Yeah, probably 18 to 20,000.
Who would be absolutely stoked with a $20,000 return?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so within 3.5 months, we had generated $360,000 in new sales.
Those scumbags.
Those scumbags, oh my God, they're so bad. Dead set. And she literally, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, she just went, oh, that makes so much sense. And I said, what makes so much sense? She goes, I have never worked so hard in my entire life. Guess what the problem was? She was working hard for a change. She said, Kerwin, you don't understand, I don't work. She goes, I come in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I just kind of flit around. Now, Thursday and Friday, I normally get drunk with my clients. Saturday, all I do is drink with my clients. She goes, we've been so busy that I've lost 3 of my top staff, and now I've had to fill in for everyone, and I'm working my ass off. She goes, you still have to stop it. I can't do it. So I rang BMW, Mercedes, and Audi, and I said, we're going to have to stop the promotion. Guess what? Every single dealer, the marketing manager from every dealership said to me when I rang up to cancel. They said, please, no, they didn't say, actually they didn't say that, but that would have been a smart thing to say. They just said, we'll buy the baskets. Please don't stop this. Our net, because they do what's called NPS. Do you guys know what NPS is? Net Promoter Score. So they basically survey their clients every time they buy a car at the, basically it's at, I think, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months, 6 months to, basically ascertain the customer experience. And all their NPS scores had gone up like what they called significantly, only by a few points, but it was significant. And the only thing that they'd done differently was the basket.
But you start to think about that. They've now offered to pay for the basket that you're getting for free.
And can't you hire some beauticians for 300 grand?
Well, I think it should be pretty clear right now that this wasn't an ideal client for me to work with. So I was only doing this really to build a relationship with her husband, which was a big time Hollywood guy. And I paid dearly because not only did I do a massively discounted rate to work with this client, and I made them enormous. And by the way, I got suckered back in 3 months later on another promotion, which I share at Nail and Scarlet, which made them another ton of money. But that's a whole nother story. But my point being is, all 3 dealers were begging, and they were going, no, you can't stop this. Our numbers are up. Everyone's happy. The principal is over the moon. We're in line for customer service bonuses. And I was like, look, I'm sorry. And they said, look, as soon as you're ready to do it again, let us know. And so I turned around and walked out. I got a phone call. It's probably about a week later from the Hollywood guy. I can't tell you who it is. I had to sign a confidentiality just to work with the couple. And he goes, hey, Kerwin, how are you? And I was like, good, mate, how are you? He goes, I don't know what you've done, but I just want to say thank you. Not only am I nuts, because he was spending $70,000 a month into the business. I'm not saying anything. Not only was he spending $70,000 a month into the business just to keep it afloat, he said, not only have I not had to spend $70,000 a month, he goes, I haven't seen my wife for 3.5 months. Thank you. And I was like, okay. So I'm the sucker here. So what I want to point out here is what we basically did is we did everything on here. Okay, we identified the best buyer patterns because we identified who our top clients were and we surveyed them. The next thing we did is we identified the businesses that related to those buyer patterns. Because you want to look at where are they spending their time, where are they spending their money. And chances are those businesses, where they're spending their time and the money, they have dozens, hundreds, or in some cases thousands of other clients just like them that you haven't got your hand, that are not in your ecosystem. Then you need to create an offer. For us, the offer is really geared around what is a no-brainer offer that we can give to the joint venture partner where they just go, I'd be an idiot not to do this because of two things. Number one, the goodwill involved, and number two, this just makes complete sense. And it's really important for me to understand one of the other things that we did for because we gave away a whole bunch of little products, but we gave away, it was 3 or 4 services. It was a mini massage, a mini facial, a mini fat seaweed wrap thing, and there was something else. But let's call it 3. For every single one of those services, we had what's called an upsell checklist. So every time if they came in for a massage, we would ask them a whole series of questions around how often they get massages, what creams that they use, if it was a facial, what their process was. And we had about 4 or 5 products that we recommended from every service that they came in that was based on a checklist of questions that a 15-year-old kid, aka think McDonald's, could have asked anyone in order to identify the need for that product. So it wasn't just we gave baskets away, people came in and just showered us with money. Every single service that they came in for had a checklist where they got upsold into something else. So we created a very powerful offer. The approach was really simple. I got on the telephone, okay? Got on the telephone, rang them directly. My advice is when you're approaching other people for joint ventures, you should either email or snail mail or both. Follow up with a phone call to set a meeting, and ideally, if you can, do that meeting face to face. The reason I say that is the more touches you have with them prior to the actual meeting where you're discussing the deal, the greater the probability of you getting the deal. Because if you're talking to them for the first time and you're proposing something they've never heard of before, chances are they're going to say no because there's no trust there. So by the time, has anyone here heard of what's called Mears effect? Mears effect, okay, this is going to be a knowledge bomb that I think everyone should pay attention to. Mears effect is essentially going to be driving commerce for the next, let's call it the next 5 to 10, 15 years. MERES, or is it MEERS? I think it's MERES. Mears effect states that the more exposures and the more frequency of exposures that someone receives, the higher level of trust is built and the greater the probability that that will lead to a transaction. And the exposure isn't promotional. Does this make sense? Sorry?
Did you say 3 years? Did you say
Ease.
no, Mears.
Oh, Mears.
Mears. Did you say at least 3 to 5?
I didn't say.
For the next
15.
Oh, it's going to be driving commerce for the next 15 to 20 years. And that's why social media is so important. And that's why in Nail It and Scale It, we're becoming so socially orientated in the content, in the way that we're teaching people how to market. Because going back in the mid-90s, the average person needed 3 to 6 exposures in order to have trust built with a brand to a level where they felt comfortable to transact. In 2011, it was 7.8, and in 2013, it was 12.2. And they're expecting by in the next 5 years that number is going to be somewhere between 19 and 23 exposures. Now, you've got to think about, and I want you to think about this for a second. Most people don't have the money to send 20 promotions to someone or make 20 phone calls to someone. The only way that you can do this, and do you guys want to go a little bit left for a second? Yeah. This is a side note. The only efficient and functional way that you can do this effectively in order to break through the clutter is through social media. Social media, by the way, isn't a promotional medium. Social media is a value-added consumption method. Now, if you look at what we're doing with the social experiment, you will see no promotional material whatsoever. And in the last 3 weeks, we've distributed probably somewhere in the vicinity of how many videos, Matthias? 10 to 15 videos in the last 3 weeks, all of which are driven for one purpose only, consumption. There is no call to action, there is no offer, it's just consumption. And we have already experienced tens of thousands of dollars in business. Just from Snapchat, we've done over 100 grand in Snapchat. Just from Snapchat alone, since February, we've done over $100,000, and I have not made one offer. All I have done is give people value. And some people will consume as many as 10 of my videos a day on Snapchat, sometimes 20 or more, and as a result, they get nurtured very quickly. They're then put into the sales pipeline, and guess what they do? Very quickly, they buy quickly because they've received multiple exposures. So it's really important to understand from your approach, the more exposures that you have during that process, the more trust and authority that you'll build, and the greater the probability that you're going to have of them actually purchasing. Question?
It's just like Meetup. I was just thinking about Meetup when you were talking about that Meetup groups.
Yep.
When you run those, it's to run them. I run them, but I don't sell anything. I just
The business, but let me ask a question. Does business get done organically as a natural consequence? Every time.
Yeah.
And see, our social mix right now is we are about 90% value give and about 10% call to action. If that, it's probably going to be less than 5%.
Do you find that you're getting a lot of unsubscribes in that at the same time? 'Cause
They can't unsubscribe. They can't, or they can dislike. They can unlike my page,
Yeah.
unfollowed on Twitter.
So you're having that from a social media point.
You're always going to have a natural attrition when you start creating noise. But what you've got to understand, it's much like email unsubscribes. I actually like it when people unfollow or unsubscribe because it means I actually have less. They're opting out. They're no longer interested. Thank you for letting me know. I'm not in it for the vanity metrics. I want to know. I want to know that the people that are following me are interested.
Yeah.
And I'm totally okay with people unfollowing or opting out. Because right now we have a noise problem when it comes to marketing from a promotional perspective. And I know all of you would know that on some level your promotions aren't working like they used to. Who would agree with that? You know, because once upon a time, I know with businesses that I work with, you'd send out 10,000 direct mailers and you'd be able to know, if I send out 10,000 mailers, I'll make $120,000 in business. And going back late 90s, you sent out 10,000 mailers, it was going to cost you $10,000. Today, you send out 10,000 mailers, how much is it going to cost you? Oh, no, it's $1 just for a stamp now. Yeah, dollar more. It's more than $1 for a stamp now, isn't it? $1? We're paying more for less service, right?
Because it'll take a week to get there.
Yeah, now it takes a week to get there. But my point being is, promotional marketing has its place, but we are moving away from direct response marketing to what's called content marketing. And content marketing is about consumption and engagement, and it's driven by Mears effect. People
It
don't...
must be driven by collaboration as well, or conversation.
Conversation?
Because people want to comment and have a conversation with you, which drives that further.
Well, the collaboration comes in the sharing and the retweeting and the passing on the information. So it's all collaborative. Social media is a collaborative tool. Question.
These 19 to 20 exposures, do they include things like really short things, little memes and...
Meaningful exposure. So it could be, I don't use the term meme, I use the term quote card.
Yeah,
So like it could be a quote card, it could be a post that they read that they enjoyed, it could be an article that you curated, it could be an article that you wrote, it could be a video that you produced.
tiny things as well as...
If you look at the formats of consumption that we have, are you guys interested in this?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 4 formats of social. We have video, we have text, we have visual and audio. On video, we have formats of 30 seconds to 1 minute, or let's just give you the broad range, 30 seconds to 10-minute videos. Okay, on text, we have everything from micro posts, all the way through to macro posts on Facebook, all the way through to long form text, which is a blog post. Visual, obviously the little quote cards or what you call the memes. And then we have audio, which we use for things like podcasts and SoundCloud. And again, I'm going to give you guys an insight, and you're probably going to hate this because this is going to be a realization that some of you don't want right now. Every single one of you in the next 5 years has to become a publisher, which means you have to start producing content. You just have to. Are you a publisher?
No.
You produce a lot of content?
No, I just wrote a book, so I feel like I'm a publisher. I mean,
Bringo, you wrote a book. I saw a book here before. Okay, so Judith has got a book here. Right now, in this book, she's probably sitting on about, I'm going to assume, how many pages is the book?
It was written a few years ago.
Okay, so it's about 200 pages. You're probably sitting on about, I don't know, maybe 50 Facebook posts in here. Probably sitting on maybe 20 to 40 just articles in here. You guys, who is in the room as trainers? Who are trainers? Okay, film every fucking thing you do moving forward. Give it to a transcriber, get them to transcribe it, then give it to an editor who will spin it into articles and microposts. Right now, I'm in the process of getting about 400 hours of seminars transcribed, and she is transcribing it, pulling out content and segmenting for articles, pulling out quotes for quote cards, pulling out microposts for Facebook, and basically then we're going to take all of it, put it all together, and we've got about 5, or probably more like 10 books just in that content. And I haven't had to write a word. And all of you are trainers. Content. You guys got to get content focused and nail it and scale it. That's a big part of what we talk about now. And it's not all of what we talk about, but when it comes to marketing, it's going to be just such an important move forward. You need to sell the deal. You can't expect just because your offer is incredible that someone's going to buy it. So you do need to know how to position that deal in a very attractive way. The more attractive that it is organically, i.e., is this a no-brainer just on first view, the easier it's going to be. But depending on your space and what you're offering, you may not have something that's emotionally compelling as a gift basket. So you might actually have to put some strategy into how you actually sell it. I find endorsements can actually increase response rates by somewhere between 200 to 400% from client side. So if the JV partner endorses your product or your service as a part of the promotion, the response rate can be massive. Now, who would like to learn how to get almost anyone to endorse your product or service? Do you want to take a guess at how you do it? Oh God, I hate it when people say that. Now, no offense, but if someone asks, you've basically got like a 50-50 probability of them saying no. I'm a hacker. I'm always like, how do I gear things in my favor to increase the probability of getting the outcome that will help everyone? And the way that I do that is I can get an endorsement from almost anyone by approaching them and saying, hey, listen, I know we're looking at doing this joint venture together, but you don't know me from a can of paint. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you my product or service for free. And if you like it, and only if you like it, would you mind writing a short review that we can use as a part of the narrative in the promotion? Would that be okay? Now, when I offer someone a product for free, we're talking a $3,000 to $5,000 product for free. And if I know what you guys charge big bucks, right? And if you're charging big bucks and you're offering what you do and you're offering it to give it away for free, what is that? What is one of the psychological triggers that activates? It activates reciprocity, which increases the probability of them not only going, yeah, sure, but them actually giving you a really good endorsement. But there's only one thing you need to ensure. You've got to have a good fucking product. And you've got to blow them away. And again, you guys being trainers, that should be an easy part of the process. And then just drill the process. Drill it, 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 and then drill it some more.